About 13 years ago, Pastor Bob gathered, and Letty gathered about 50 of us, and we said we want to have a church that ministers to the parks. So a friend of Pastor Bob's named Dan Axtell was worshiping here, and he said, Bob, I'll let you guys come at 1 o'clock and have church. So we thought, okay, we'll give it a shot. Well, from 1 o'clock, it grew so much that pastor decided he would let us have the building and he would move somewhere else. And so we had church at 9:30, and then we had a second service. And by the time we got done, the final Christmas that we were in this building, we literally had chairs, folding chairs, mind you, all the way almost to the door. If the fire chief had come, he would have shut it all down. And so we've had to continue to look for a new building and to grow and to expand.
So just before we moved into this building, I had the bright idea, we need to get out of that building on 19th and X. So I saw a building on 5th and X near Outer Grove that was for sale. And we went after that building, and as it turned out, they shot us down. So as it turns out, God speaks through your staff and above the pastor many times through other people. And we saw a for sale sign during that process on this building at 2225 19th Street. And my real estate contacted the owner's real estate agent, and the process started of us being in this building. So when we first moved into this building at 2225 19th Street from the building at 19th and X, we were already at 2 services. And first Sunday, it's packed. I mean, it is packed to the gills, overflow in both services. Well, our people didn't realize what I realized already, and what our staff knew already, was that we were going to literally abuse this building. And so eventually, the beginning of the next year, we went to a 3rd service. The beginning of the next year, we went to a 4th service. The beginning of the next year, we went to a 5th service. And the beginning of the next year, we went to a 6th service on Thursday night. Our people eventually got a hold of that, and eventually they found out that this building was perfect for us, and this sanctuary was perfect for us as well.
Wait, can you give us just a clap?
Thank you.
All right, you good?
I'm good.
Yeah.
So about a year into the building, our current building at 2225 19th Street, started noticing the guys who were coming to the building, and ended up meeting the owner. His name is Nguyen. Seemed like a really cool guy.
I believe when Midtown Church moved in next door to me, a few months shortly after that, Bob came by, and he brought up the idea that, well, first he complained about my dumpster smelling like rotten fish.
Told me a little bit about his story. He's got a great family story, but I told him that, man, at some point down the road, would you be willing to sell this building? He's like, oh.
I said, absolutely not. I never wanted to sell the building. It was
the crown jewel of my empire. I'd never sell this building.
I also didn't understand churches. I thought churches were bad. I viewed it as like the big bad church that came over and wanted to take over my building and take it away from me. I'd had so many conversations with Bob. Every single time I was probably very dismissive and kind of rude, and told him, you know what, in one way or another told him, I want nothing to do with you guys. Just go do your thing, do your church thing, and I'm gonna do my fish thing here. Because everything that I wanted, I had in that building.
That's basically where our relationship stayed for a year or two.
Bob one day invited me to go have tacos at Midtown Church, and I had no idea he was going to bring me on stage. And something happened shortly after that. It was a few days after I was driving home, and I got to a stoplight, and I still remember this vividly. I just started crying. I started bawling. And I'm not the type of person that just bawls for no reason. I just saw in my head, like I was visualizing people walking into my fish company and being saved, like walking through the front door. And it's just people that kind of resembled me. Older people, younger people, babies, and they were walking in, and in my head at the time, what I was visualizing was them being saved. That night, I texted Bob, and then we had a short conversation. I said, I want to come in and talk to you. And I think he kind of knew something was changing inside of me.
Nguyen was in my office. It was the week before Christmas, and he was telling me about his struggles, and he was really in a vulnerable moment, and I ended up leading him to Christ that day.
That was probably one of the most important days of my life, was when I went into Bob's office. And I think in his mind, he knew what was happening and God had spoken to me. And I gave myself to Christ in Bob's office that day. And from that moment on, I didn't know where I was going to be at next, but I just knew that that was not my property anymore, that it was God's property and that it was going to be used for a better purpose than what it was used for.
It was just really a Kairos moment in history when God moved Nguyen's heart and eventually saw to it that I need to give this over to the church. So it was a beautiful God moment.
You know, when I think of this new space, what's always resonated in my heart is Midtown Church is meant to be more than just a worship space.
If your church were to close its doors tomorrow, do you think that people would notice? Would the community around you even notice? And, you know, the good news is that I think that with Midtown Church, people would absolutely notice.
We got to do a great job of giving this building away. We got to give it to the Armstead Academic Project. We got to give it to the Roberts Development Center. We've got to give it to the kids at Leah Tata Floyd Elementary School. Good Cause Inc. Be Encouraged, doing what we do for the homeless, eliminating all the educational disparities, giving it to organizations in the city who need it.
So I'm so excited that we get to impact the community even more, that we get to be a better expression of hope, health, and healing for even more people.
Yes, praising God, worship, the word being preached, prayer, but I also think of equipping young people. I think of different initiatives going on all week long.
Our impact is big and wide and even global, and we're hoping that you'll join us all the way in the journey.